All right, excited to have Zac Twardowski in the office with us today. 3-time Hall of Fame producer, youngest integrity partner, 4 times board member. I don't even know what it's called anymore. I apologize to those that are striving for the 4,000 families a month protected. Soon will be 5,000 families a month protected board member. Is it? I don't know. So something up there. Zac, tremendous leader, tremendous discipline in the business, and excited to have an office full of young and young at heart agents who are looking to get better. We're going to do a Q&A session right now. Excited for that. It's anyone that's got some questions. We're going to start, but we are excited to have board member and 1,300 families protected per month in 11 months. Hasn't even been here a year yet. Josh Williams in the house. So excited to have Josh here. And we're going to start our first question off with Mr. Josh Williams for Mr. Zac Twardowski.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy to be here. Zac, one of the things that I love most about you is that when a lot of people build something really big and they get bigger, they tend to do a lot less, and you do the opposite. So what I wanted to talk about is life after integrity, right? We have this exit strategy, but it doesn't mean we sit on the beach and we hang out all day. So what is that like on a day-to-day basis? Because I see you traveling nonstop. You're in every state, every different day. So what are you doing each day, and what's life like after, integrity?
Yeah. And I think, without going into a ton of details, you still have earnouts after you get your deal with it. So there's still a lot of goals. There's still a lot of, there's goals, and there's a lot of money still on the table to be made once you do your partnership too, which is good. Someone asked me that the other day, like I didn't realize that. So, and the other thing is, but more important, more significant than that to me, Josh, is like there's a lot of people on my team, like Easton and Jake and a lot of these other people, Wiley. I don't want to name everyone because I'll leave all these guys out that have helped, and girls out that have helped me, but they helped us get here quickly, right? And so I don't want to leave them behind. So I don't want to stop until everyone that is putting in the right amount of work gets to their integrity deal as well. Because I don't know, maybe I'm weird. Money doesn't do that much for me. Besides, I don't like to worry about it. Like I'm cool with having some nice stuff. It doesn't really matter that much. I just don't want to be stressed about it. And once I hit the level where I'm not stressed about it, I don't really care. But I would feel really terrible if I left all the people behind. And there are people who, have a lot of things they want to do for their family, kids, et cetera, that I want to bring with me because they did so much to help us get there. So that's how I've started looking at it now. And once I started looking at it that way, is weird. It made it easier to work harder because I was like, all I want to do is help these guys get their integrity partnerships too. And there's a few people who are getting close, and a lot of people I think will be there in the next couple of years. And our goal is to at some point, and it might take a while, it might take until Andrew retires, but at some point have more integrity partners than any other group in the company, right? And it's a big lofty goal, but I have a lot of people who I feel like deserve to get here. And it makes it really easy to go out and work every day and lead by example. And one thing I did in the field was I tried to, I ran on Saturdays and Sundays because I wanted to make other people realize it was okay, and it was okay not to be out partying and drinking every day. Because when I went to University of Colorado, for anyone who knows, I think there was something to do Monday through Sunday. You could go out. There was a themed bar night every night, right? So I always had, it's kind of what I was doing even when I started insurance. And I just didn't until I started working around Sean and Andrew and other people, I didn't realize it was okay and it was cool to not be out drinking and partying every night, So as an agent, I wanted to be out in the field and showing people it's okay to be up at 6 a.m. on Saturday and going and running appointments and helping families. That's how you really get ahead in life, is by doing stuff that everyone else doesn't want to do. So now it's trying to do the same thing as a manager. Let's fly around here. Let's get with agents. Let's teach them how to sell. Let's teach them how to build teams. Let's help them recruit people, and still leading by example, just not in the field as a business owner now though.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thanks, Zac.
Thanks, dude.
Orlando's got a question.
Quick question for you, Zac.
We got a senior sales manager of FFL Domino Effect, Orlando Martinez.
That's a great name.
Getting proper intros here.
Appreciate it.
Orlando just smashed vice president. So
Vice President of FFL Domino Effect, Orlando Martinez. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Grady. So quick question for you, Zac. You mentioned that you could grab somebody that could do it that's a 2, right? Spend 10 hours with them and, make them a 6 right? And that's a lot of time that you're wasting as a manager. If you find somebody that's a killer that is a 6, you spend that same amount of time, you get them to a 9. So while you're doing the recruiting process, what makes you look at this person as a 2 and this person as a 6? What are the traits that you're looking at into that person on your interviewing side, I guess, that would say, hey, this guy's going to be a lot sharper than this other person?
Yeah, so a lot of times I'm doing interviews, I don't, I still send them the Rogue IMO video and have them watch all that. When I'm doing an interview, I'm not really doing anything besides trying to get to know someone and get to understand why they want to do this and what they're doing it for, right? And if people give really shallow answers, I guess shallow answers, like I just want to make money or things like that, like there's got to be something deeper there for them to anchor to, right? So I'm kind of looking for that, and of course, I'll let a lot of people come in and give it a shot and see how they do, because you never know, people surprise you. But I'm looking for people who have like a good story, like a deep why, and something they're like really able to anchor to. Because I know when there was bad days when I was in the field, if I didn't have a deeper why than just I want to make some money, then I would have quit, right? And so I'm looking for people who have like that really deep desire to make this work, and they have a big reason as to why they want to make it work. And then once agents are getting started, the scale of like 1 to 10 Grady was talking about, I don't look at it as much as like their skill set or like how good they are. I look at it more like how much effort they're willing to put into it on a scale of 1 to 10. So like I would much rather take someone who will book 40 appointments a week every week and sell no one than take someone who will book 8 appointments and sell every single one. I'll take the 40 appointment person a week all day long, and that's where I'll spend all my time with. So the 80-20 rule, again, which something that Grady's talked about a lot, I used to spend like 80% of my time with the bottom 80% of our people, not of the results, but of the effort they put in and how positive they were and how grateful they were. So I'm looking for agents that are grateful, they have a good attitude, and they're willing to work hard, and they have accountability. Probably most importantly, like if something goes wrong, they take some accountability for it. It's not always the leads, the clients, whatever. Like people like that. I'm good. I can't. But I want to spend 80% of my time with the people who have put the most effort in, the most grateful, willing to spend the most time working, the most accountable people. I'll spend 80% of my time there working with those people, because that's where you'll have the biggest effect. So I think, bring a lot of people in, and then it's like a tryout all the time. I'm looking for who's going to put the most effort in, who's the easiest to work with. When something goes wrong, who's not always pointing the finger outward. And if you focus on the top 20% of those people, that's where you'll get a huge result from.
You're still going for the volume, just looking out who's actually putting the effort and having the activity required to succeed.
Exactly, yeah. And Grady asked earlier, like, what do you guys do to have such a high average issue paid per writer? And I was looking at it the other day, probably a couple months ago, and I'm like, dude, if you take the bottom 80% is the same as everyone else's, but the top 20%, there's a way more people that help 50, 60, 70 families a month, I think, in our group, because we spend so much focus, energy on those people. And someone doesn't need your help to help 5 families a month. They can do that without you. So don't spend time trying to convince them to help 15 or 20.
That's good. Let me jump on that just because that was such a good question, Orlando. Great question. And the heart wants to help all, right? Mm-hmm. The watch doesn't allow you to do so. Right. And that's a deep thing if you think about that, right? I want everyone to win, but I have my own responsibilities that are little at home and have poopy diapers, right? And I've got a partner who I want to make proud, and I've got obligations galore. And I want to give everything I can, but if a guy goes, Grady, I've said this before, Grady, I need you to push me. Listen, Josh, it wasn't Josh. His name was, I forgot his name, but it wasn't Josh. Listen, John, I can't push you, but if you follow me, I'll lay a path and you'll become successful. And so the heart wants to fix all. And I think in that exact respect, like I'll take one with desire over 10 with ability. I'll take one with passion and heart over 10 with a skill set who they don't know how to use, right? So I think in that example, and the way that this training was taught to us was he said, I want the skill set of people. So let's just analyze the skill set. He's like, I'll go hire other people that can sell already versus trying to teach you how to sell. And this was in his example he was using. But so what that means to me is let's go talk to car salesmen. Let's talk to roofers. Let's talk to solar. Let's talk to anyone who's out there in any industry, other insurance companies, other IMOs, other captive agencies, other places where people aren't treated as well as they're treated here. And if they've already got a skill set they developed, why don't we introduce them to this skill set via the Rogue IMO video or a good healthy conversation, or a great tip is, hey John, I see you're doing really well in your business. You got 5 minutes, love to run something by you. Well, what's it about? Hey, I need 5 minutes, real quick. I see you're killing it in X, Y, and Z industry. Love if you give me just 5 minutes. And if you've got a good looking professional social media page, most of the time people will give you time if you're strong and in control, and that takes time to get time and skill set to develop. But the reality though is if you go save other people who've already developed those skills, you don't have to teach someone who's never sold how to sell. Now granted, do we sell? We're order takers. Yes, I've got all that, but this is kind of the analysis of it. So phenomenal question. Who else we got? Erica Walker has a question. This is Vice President of FFL Blessings. Is there an S?
I'm not sure.
No S. Vice President of FFL Blessing, virtual superstar, Miss Erica Walker. How are we doing today?
I'm amazing. So thank you, Zach, for being here and sharing everything. I think the biggest thing is how, and this might be a silly question, but how do you have that fine line between motivating your agents and wanting more for them than they want for themselves, like holding them accountable? Because you could say somebody could come in and have a great why, which in my experience that's happened, and then you set up goals for them of, okay, this is what you need to do to accomplish it. You hold them accountable, but it's almost like you want it more for them than they want it for themselves.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. I was exhausted listening to that because I've been through that for a long time. So, and I'm not trying to be rude. Like, I know it's a great question. So, what I used to do is I would set up goals like for everyone, like you said. And then now what I do with agents I work with is I ask them, so I'm like, hey, Erica, what do you need to do to make sure you pay all your bills? What are you looking to do in the next year? And then like, what is your ultimate goal with this thing? And then I'll ask why to figure out what situation you're trying to get out of. And then I'll let you know right up front, hey, I'm not going to be there to wake you up in the morning or motivate you or anything like that. But I'm going to be here for you to ask questions to and be here to support you and help you get to where you want to go. But you're going to have to be very self-motivated to hit those goals. And if you have big goals, I'll be very honest with you. Like, say your goal is to be an integrity partner in a year. Like, you're going to have to work 80, 100 hours a week for the next year to make that work. And you're going to have to give up vacations and fun stuff that you would normally do in order to get to here at this point. So I just try to be very direct with people. And I again, this is credit to Grady. I remember when I wouldn't ever read a book. Grady's like, you read anything? I'm like, dude, I hate reading. I would never read. And I started reading probably a year ago. I read this book called The Emperor's Mindset. Have you read that one? Mm-mm. So in that book, it was the whole premise of it. I'll save you guys reading it. It's really hard to read. It's like old English from like the Roman Empire or something. But the whole premise of it was like, when something happens and you get emotional about it, it's like, ask yourself if you can control it. And if you can't control it, then you can't worry about it. You have to let it go, right? If you can control it, then you have to either decide, okay, what can I do? What could I have done differently to make that result go in my favor next time? So you can't control how hard someone works, right? If someone comes in and they're putting the right activity in and they're not having the right results, they're going up and down, you just have to ask, what could I do differently as a manager to help that person out? Or how could I be a better support system for that person? If they tell you they want all these things and they won't work, you can't control it. You have to let that go. And you have to find other people that are motivated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So at that point, you pretty much just bring it up, try to help them. And then if they still aren't following through, then just kind of let them be.
Yeah, and I'll do like today I'll do this later. I'll go through our reports that we get for all the sales, and I'll go through the people that, and I'll at least call and talk to everyone who I have direct and all the people who are selling a lot and where they want to be, and I'll just have a conversation, be like, hey Eric, how's it going? You happy with everything? And I'll leave it open ended, and I'll let them, instead of me calling and going, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, I'll go, hey, how's everything going? Are you happy with where you're at? Mm-hmm. And if they go, I'm happy with where I'm at, I'm like, sweet, that was an easy conversation. It took 2 seconds. Yeah. If they go, well, actually, I've been meaning to call you. I just want to at least open the conversation and then let them tell me what they need help with. Because I'm not giving anyone unsolicited advice. Because that's a way for, like, if someone called me and was like, hey, you need to do these 3 things, I'd be like, dude, leave me alone. I did not ask for your help. I'm good. Yeah. And so I just didn't want to overstep on anyone ever.
That's good. Thank you.
Yep.
That's awesome. Riyadh has got a question.
That's why he sells so much.
We got to get the microphone so we can record it.
That's why he sells a lot. Got questions.
That's it.
Yep.
Wow. How many families you protect this week?
17.
17 families. Riyadh Morsali. We got a logo yet?
I have it. It's in the process.
It's in the process. Logo in the process. Riyadh Morsali.
How important do you think it was for you leading from the front to find the people that you have to have that highest average per agent? Do you think that played a huge part in it?
I think it would have played a bigger part if we were better at marketing. But I think it did play a big part. But
is there anyone that you're working with that would not have worked with you if you
so I don't really have a ton of warm market people. I have a lot of people that have worked with us that were cold market and then built really big warm market teams. But yeah, I think a lot of people that work with us. So Jake is a good example of this, right? So 2019 convention, I helped a bunch of families. Easton helped like 300 families his first 6 months, right? Put a picture on there of that on Facebook. I tagged Easton in it, and Jake reached out. They went to college together. And he's like, well, you're helping twice as many families in 6 months as I've helped a whole year at my current insurance job. What are you doing, right? And now Jake's team helps 1,000 families a month, and he writes that many a year on his own, right? So he never would have reached out had it not been for the high production. And I think the high production is important, but what's more important is talking about the activity that goes into it. So yes, it's really important to help 50, 60, 70 families a month, because I think the whole adage that your team will do half of what you do is very true. But you have to not focus on that with people as much and be like, yeah, but I did run 34 appointments this last week, which is why I had the result I had. It's very important to keep reminding people, like, I'm not that good. Because if you sell a lot, people will think you're good, and you're really not. You've just figured out how to book enough appointments and let enough people show up and be assertive enough in the home and just tell people what to do. Like, half of them are going to buy if you do that, right? So I think, yes, selling a lot is important, but it's also really important to remind people how you got there and what you did to get there. Yep, I just bought more leads and booked more appointments than everyone else. That's why I had a better week.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Because one thing that Trey Honeycutt taught me was, like, when you're building a business, everything you do has to be scalable and replicatable, right? So is it replicatable to write, to help 10 families on 4 appointments a week? No. But everyone, if they sat with 20, not everyone, but a lot of people, if they sat with 20 families a week, could help 10, right? So that's what I just thought about. Everything we're trying to promote and talk about and do for our training has to be replicatable by a lot of people, not just by 1 or 2 really skilled salespeople.
Robbie Brito. We got Senior Sales Manager of FFL Full Throttle.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Robbie Brito.
Thank you for coming out. First off, I know you guys are really big around awareness, and you use the that sheet you guys submit on Sunday evening, I believe. Mm-hmm. Did you guys not use it before and then started to use it, and you saw a difference in regards to awareness across the organization, or how was that?
Yeah, we didn't do it for a long time. It wasn't a big push, but we made it a really big push because we saw the result that it had. And the other thing that we didn't talk about with, like, everyone posting their numbers and everything is that it shows a very clear path for all new agents. Like, new agents will go into Slack, see all the numbers that are posted, and they won't even have to really reach out. They'll see, oh, okay, these agents that are running this many appointments are having success. These ones that do this many are not. And it's very clear for them. So a lot of times I'll have agents now that reach out and go, hey, how do I get to 30 appointments a week? I don't have to convince them anymore of it, because they already know that's the path, because they see all the successful agents doing that. So they're already bought in. They're like, how do I get to these 30 appointments a week? So I think it is important to have a consistent message, which is why that's worked for us, because everyone's on the same page with it. And I'm very lucky to have a team that's really awesome, and no one goes like, I'm the best ever. They just go like, yeah, do just 30 appointments a week, 30 appointments a week, 30 appointments a week. Like, hey, what about 30 appointments a week, right? Yeah. So.
And I'm assuming when it comes to doing a call to close, or if somebody's going to do one over the phone, is it just based on their ability to take somebody through a financial inventory sheet, and then that's kind of an appointment, whichever direction that goes?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, and we have, I think if I had to put a number on it, I think 35 to 40% of our sales are coming virtually, either over the phone or call to close, and then the rest of them are still probably in the field sales. And then a lot of people are doing a mixture of both now, which is really cool, And I think if you're someone who runs in the field, if you have someone on the phone, you go ask them, hey, why don't we take care of this right now? You can book more appointments in the field by just taking care of that one over the phone. That's a total laydown anyways. Why not just help them over the phone and then set another appointment the next day in the field, right? So I think that's what a lot of people have started doing. They're like, oh, I can write 3 or 4 more apps and then still have my normal field days.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then last question, just for recruiting, outside of one market, what are you guys doing to recruit?
We do. I look at recruiting a lot like we look at leads. So when I was in the field, I wanted to work every different lead type. Just in case, anything ever happened where, mail slowed down or internet leads got all bought up or whatever. So I would work all the different lead types. And as a manager, I wanted to be able to teach everyone every different type, right? So like if someone's like, I want to run final expense mailers, I wanted to have had success running them so I could teach it to them. So same thing with recruiting. We do a bit of everything as far as, cold reach out. So on like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, people reaching out to people. So outbound messaging and recruiting. And then we use all the traditional job boards as well. And one thing we do every month is at the end of the month, we look and we see where all of our new issue paid writers came from. And then we match it up to where the sources were. And then we eliminate stuff that doesn't work. So I didn't track that for a long time. And we just would run all these things. And I'm like, oh, it all works. And then we started looking at it. I'm like, and some of them were crazy. I'm like, we spend $3,000 a month on this thing that yields us no result. Like, cut it out. Like, we're done with this thing. Let's put that money somewhere else that make more sense. So we could buy leads with it.
Just give them to agents.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Great questions,
exactly.
Robbie. All right, last question. 30 family a month producer, Martina.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. and took a lot from what Josh does in order to create a warm market in the social media. And you just hit on exactly what your answer was there, that you use LinkedIn, Instagram, and so on and so forth, and how you figure out how to push what needs to go out. So, but when you very first started working cold market, did you just throw spaghetti on the wall and put money everywhere to recruit?
Yeah,
or
I did.
You start
It
in
was
a
ridiculous.
very specific place to get started?
No, I threw money everywhere, which I'm not recommending. It was the most absurd thing ever. I spent money on everything, but I wrote enough where it was okay. So I'm just gonna be honest, Grady. Like, I threw money at everything. I'd get a message on LinkedIn with someone claiming they had something, and I would already be signed up for it before I talked to them. So, and don't do that, by the way, because you'll spend money on a bunch of dumb stuff. So I did do that, but what I would recommend is there's enough people who have had success with cold market recruiting is just get tips from everyone that's doing it. And then also, like, I started sending people to talk to my staff about it too, because I have recruiting staff and I let them be in charge. I'm like, this is your guys' job to, minimally get at least 5 new issue paid writers a month from each staff person. Otherwise, you no longer have a job. So why don't you guys take over, and why don't you guys find the sources you think work the best, because your job depends on it, right? So I've linked a lot of people up with my staff that do recruiting in order for them to, kind of explain what they do, what they like, and what they don't like. And once I put them in charge of that, like, I didn't have time. Like, that's their job, is to recruit people, right? So that's why I want them to be in charge of it, so that I don't have time to test everything out that they have, and their job literally depends on it. So they find the best recruiting sources, and I let a lot of people talk to them and
so good
have them
right
have
there.
recommendations.
Let
right?
your staff become great at becoming what their job is, instead of trying to micromanage everything.
And they have a lot more pride in it. Like, it doesn't matter what staff position, but like, that's their department. Like, the department's 2 people, but that's their department, and they have a lot more pride in it because they're in control in it and they have a say over what happens in it. Like, I don't let them go willy-nilly and spend crazy money on stuff, but they find stuff, bring it back to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? And then I go ahead and approve it, right? And the other thing with cold market recruiting, this is something, hopefully I'll save someone some time. It took me like 2 years to realize this. The only reason you're doing cold market recruiting is to find another good warm market. I was looking at cold market recruiting as a way to add agents, which is not the right way to look at it. Cold market recruiting is a way for you to sift through a bunch of people and find another really strong warm market. So a lot of my team, I have 8 legs direct to me. 6 of them are cold market, but almost every single person on those teams is warm market. So your goal when you get someone who's a good cold market person is to help them sell a lot and promote the heck out of them and help them recruit their warm market. That's the only purpose of cold market. It's not to add 10 agents a month from that. It's to find one really good agent from it every once in a while.
Zach, thank you. Can we run an applause for Zach?
Thank you guys for coming.